Welcome to the second round of the Pirelli GT4 America Championship from a cold and cloudy Circuit of the Americas just outside of Austin, Texas. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish, Ryan Marine down in the pit lane. You can see it's still a little misty out there. The track has a bit of a dry groove to it. It's going to produce some interesting racing, Cal, and obviously everybody's got to be prepared for these conditions.
Yes, it's certainly going to be tread carefully in these opening laps until you generate some tire temperature in those Pirelli P0s. But there's a lot of experience on this grid, but also some youngsters out there are probably going to get a little bit feisty in the early going.
And, of course, this is a doubleheader weekend, so we had the opening round of the championship in yesterday's action. And we're going to take a look in just a moment at some highlights from that race. And it was fairly interesting, although the team from NOLA Sport, based out of New Orleans, Louisiana, boy, they seem to just have this place figured out.
They were dialed in. They were very impressive in qualifying, sweeping both poles for the opening rounds of our championship season and put it to good effect once we saw the green flag fly.
Yeah, they were on the pole and were able to lead. You see on the far left the McLaren of Jared Andretti having a good run in the early going, sweeping across the nose, and the rest of the sizable field, 30 cars, but there was some moments right at the start, a couple of cars going around, including the Flying Lizard number 21.
Yeah, and that bright yellow Porsche Cayman of Brynjolfsson gets tapped there by Gerazzi, turns it around. Gerazzi had damage, and then we see a little movement there by Kozarov, gets a little bit too racy there down at the inside of turn 19, spins it away, but a quick recovery.
Then a little bit of a lockup from Matt Fosnot, and that changed the dynamic on that car just a little bit. He was flying at that stage, and the car just didn't seem to be quite right after that. But the number 67 entry, that is the car from the Racers Group, showing some really good pace. Then a bit of a moment here. This is the Doghouse Performance entry. Cut a tire right as he turned into the final turn.
It did, but it created a yellow and a little bit of a reset, and then we went racing again.
Yeah, and it wasn't for a long period, but it was a very intense period. You can see the Volt Lighting entry now of Trent Hinman behind the wheel, side by side, as they came through that last corner with Parker Chase, a couple of young guns putting on a show. But up front, and now Jason Hart behind the wheel of this NOLA Sport Porsche Cayman was not to be denied.
It was a dominant performance, and they celebrate their first win of the year.
There's Matt Travis's co-driver over the wall, and they owned it, start to finish. Other than their moment in the pits, they led every lap of this race. That's dominance.
It really is, and here we see them. It's a 1-2 in qualifying for race 2, so it's not just that 47 machine that has speed. The 46 starts right alongside.
Yeah, they've just got this place figured out, and of course that's Mike Vess and John Capestro-Dubé, JCD as they call him, and yeah, he just really showed some pace right there in that Vess Energy Group entry in that second qualifying. That's a difference between last year and this year. We want to point that out to people that are just joining. You can see the black now in the front of that Flying Lizard car where they fixed that damage. But you don't take fast lap from race 1 to determine where you start in race 2. It's a separate qualifying session. They run a 15-minute with a break, change drivers, second driver gets in, and so that allows you, if you have an issue in that first race, to not get stymied early in race 2. And Trent Hinman, it'll be fun watching these guys start this one off.
Yeah, right alongside Robbie Foley, has a lot of pace in that Flying Lizard Cayman as well.
And Owen Trinkler will be starting in the number 43. This is the came together fairly late, Owen and Sarah Cattaneo, and Owen was very fast at the end of the race yesterday. It'd be fun to watch him start up, and then the orange Mercedes alongside. It will be another gun. Christian Shimshak will be starting that car.
Yeah, talking about young guns, we've got Alec Udell on the next row in the GMG Racing Audi number 2, so expect great things from him. Young Alec doesn't have a full season ride, so he's a very impressive young man, has great credentials, and you know he's going to want to impress here at the start of this race.
Well, I think he had one of the drives of the race yesterday. They had a very slow pit stop and driver exchange, dropped him almost out of the top 20, and I think he was 6th at the end of the race. He just augured his way through the field. Al Carter, another driver who wasn't thinking he'd be at this event, and got the call from Body Motion to step in and do the job, and he did one for sure. Elvin Goulart here in the Krug Speed Janetta. And this car, end of the race, if the track stays dry, these Janettas are generally really, really quick.
Yeah, they're really a lightweight car, and they had to repair that car after the incident with Gerazzi yesterday.
Andrew Davis in the Kelly Moss Porsche, the number 32, will be starting that one again. This is a 60-minute race, and at 25 to 35 minutes in is the mandatory pit window where you do a driver's change. And Stephen McAleer also another driver with great pace. And that's the interesting thing. The first half of the second round of the championship, the way that the rules require your drivers, it's the faster of the rated drivers, the higher rated drivers that generally start. Derek DeBoer, we know what he's capable of.
Yeah, really quick driver there, running one of the TRG Porsche Caymans. Parker Chase, he had a great battle with Trent Hinman there for the podium positions here yesterday. Expect him to charge to the front.
Yeah, our GT champion from last year. Here's a look at the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW of Gregory Leafoge, another very fast talent. And yeah, looking forward to seeing these guys play out here. Nate Stacey, another guy coming back to this championship, and in a very comfortable machine for him.
Yeah, he knows that car well, knows the team well, core. And Dean Martin runs a great group there.
And we saw this was the Audi that had that cut tire late in the race, the Doghouse Performance entry. Adam Poland, who was a force in touring cars. They took a few years off and have come back now into the GT4 category. Matt Keegan, who was co-driver with Ian James in the Sprint X last year, running with Preston Calvert here. Matt had an overall pole at one of the races, so his pace is unquestioned. And Toby Grahovic, well, he's got immediate track knowledge, doesn't he?
Just jumped out of a touring car podium finish, so yeah, he'll know what the track is like. Big advantage.
And here is the Andretti Autosport, MilitaryMotorsports.com, and Window World. McLaren Carl Thompson will be starting. Jared Andretti, the other driver in the car, they had a really good run yesterday, but turned out in post-race tech that they were a little bit light, and as the rules are the rules, and they had to get moved back just a bit, so it'll be fun to watch them charge up through the field. Chris Wilson, I think one of the most experienced drivers in this field.
Yes, and they've had a busy weekend. Lost a motor in the early going in one of the practice sessions, who had to borrow a motor from Classic.
And this is the U.S. racing developments. This is the Ginetta. Casey Dennis will be starting in this entry. Bader will be taking over, and then we move to the outside of that row. The familiar colors, if you've been watching World Challenge, of ST Racing, and a two-time dominant Touring Car A champion joining that team, running with Samantha Tan.
Yeah, really impressive young driver. I think he'll do great things alongside Samantha this year.
And then here's the 28 of Harry Gottsacker, and we know what Harry's capable of. Second in the GT championship last year, GTS I should say, as it was called at the time. And John Miller is always quick. And then Jeff Burton will be starting here, and Vesko Kozarov will be finishing, so that should be fun to watch.
Yeah, they had a good run going yesterday. Kozarov very much in the mix, actually had the lead. They delayed their pit stop a little bit deeper into the running. That pit stop today has to happen between the 25 and 35-minute mark of this 60-minute race.
Here's Carl Whitmer in the number 22 Precision Driving BMW, shares with Marco Radicic. And Marco, involved in that incident at the start of the race, knocked the steering rack completely wonky. He said he was basically it was about a third off as he was going down the straights, and had entry pushed and snap oversteer, and he fought his way through it, and they've got it sorted out today. Here is the Kops Industries entry of the Brothers Palmer, run by Kelly Moss Racing in that Audi. And John Teese, it's nice to see, this is a team that we're familiar with for many years, but first appearance in World Challenge, BGB Motorsports. And Randy Muller, I think this is one of the interesting stories in the paddock, because Epic Motorsports and Bimmer World have fierce competitors throughout the years in various championships. And Randy, who owns Epic, and James Clay, who owns Bimmer World, decided let's pair up and have some fun, and they're doing exactly that. And then the 254 here, another classic BMW entry, Jeff Sexton and Ray Mason. And then a late entry, Frank Gannett driving with Drew Stavely in the Ian Lacey Racing G3 Ginetta, will be starting at the back of the field. And this car is also very, very capable. We'll see just how that plays out here as the race unfolds. And it all comes down as well to what happens with the conditions. If it continues to stay dry, everything will be pretty much normal. But the way the weather has been here, which is just completely unpredictable in terms of moisture, if it just stays with a little light mist or stops, great. But it could very well get just a little bit more damp in the middle. This is why you go racing, is it's all of these variables that are thrown into the mix.
Yeah, lots of curveballs here this weekend. Right now the forecast is saying should stay dry, get a little bit windier as the day progresses, which will certainly aid in making it a completely dry track.
And of course, those long straights from 11 to 12, depending upon which way the wind is blowing, can have other effects on top of it, but we'll take that. We'd rather have that breeze in a dry track than the alternatives that are possible here. Everybody getting into that focus, getting ready to go here for the start of this 60-minute race. Just to remind everybody, 60 minutes, driver change required, no required tire change, but you can, if you choose to, during that pit stop.
Yeah, you have to extend, there's a minimum pit stop time of 81 seconds. That's from pit in to pit out, including the driver change. If you do, in fact, do a tire change during that, that extends out to 120 seconds. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams taking that option.
Yeah, it would be more if there was some sort of an issue, I think, that, with a tire that was unsafe and the like. And there's the signal. Engines are springing to life. We are going to be ready with the pace lap. This track is relatively long at 3.4 miles. Generally, that means they will do one pace or formation lap before we go racing. But the question here is, with these conditions, race control has the option. We have heard nothing about it yet, but race control does have the option to say, let's do 2 formation laps to give these drivers an opportunity. There were no warm-ups this morning, so other than Grahovic, everybody's seeing this track pretty much for the first time.
Just a really large field. 31 cars will see the green flag here this morning. 8 different manufacturers represented. Normally BMWs and Porsches, but a healthy Audi contingent. McLaren on the grid, of course, Panos and Ginettas, a couple of AMG Mercedes, and that Ford with Golinello and Nate Stacey.
Once again, sizable field. 31 cars making their way out and onto the track, following the Honda Pace and Safety vehicle. And that sweep of the front row once again by the Noller Sport duo of Jason Hart and John Capestro-Dubé.
Sideways Shimshak turns it.
Well, that tells you how greasy this track is when a driver of his ability has a moment like that.
You just got nothing to, once it gets to a certain point, you got nothing to recover with. There's no real track grip. The tires are stone cold.
And the issue here is if you stall or get slow away from the grid, and you lose a few spots, you can make those spots up. To be honest with you, I'm not sure, though, if you have a moment like that during the pace lap, if you can try and get back in the front, you have to drop to the back of the field.
That's right.
So that'll be frustrating, because that's a car that definitely had some potential here.
Yeah.
Now, Mercedes is really good. Generally, I think it's exceptional in damp conditions normally. And see, this is now, it looks like he's trying to make his way back up to his spot. It'll be interesting to see if that is okay or not.
Well, if you're slow away from the grid, and you're not dead last, you're able to make your way back through. Otherwise, you do start at the back. I think having a moment like that on the reconnaissance lap, a little bit of a gray area. I'm sure the stewards will tell him if he's doing the right or wrong thing.
Right. And so inform us, we hope, as well. I mean, he's certainly coming up and looking for that spot. And it was up in he was 6th. So that would be hugely costly. He's just got to get up behind right now the number 43 Reardon Racing entry, and that is Owen Trinkler.
It's going to be a dicey first couple of laps until we get some tire temperature generated in these Pirelli P0s, Greg, particularly when they get side by side. You expect it to be 3, 4, maybe more wide up into the turn 1 braking zone, and as they come off there down through the S's, that's where it's hard to get these tires to react without the tire temperature. See the lights staying on. I think we may be seeing an additional pace lap here.
I think so,
tire
too.
Temperature for all of the drivers,
which I think makes sense. I think, after it's cold, damp, and they haven't seen the track. I think that's just a wise move.
Clock should start to run, because obviously you can't throw an additional lap at these competitors at the last moment with this regarding fuel loads and such. So we should see the clock start to run once we cross the stripe here in a moment.
The only thing that might change that is if they inform the competitors in advance that there would be 2 laps, and we just haven't heard about it.
Okay.
So they could then obviously make sure they had the proper fuel in the tank. And the 34, the orange Mercedes right there, Now that's back where they qualified.
That has been given the okay. The officials have said he was allowed to do that.
Okay.
Maybe because we have 2 pace laps, that may be factoring in as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point here. And into the pit lane comes Toby Grahovic. As we said, just came off of this is gutting because he had an opportunity here, having track knowledge, having run a touring car race just a little bit ago, but now not a good sign. The bonnet on the front's going up. I suppose that's redundant for a Brit for me to say the bonnet on the front.
This is not good news because you would expect him to be totally at ease in these conditions, having just finished a podium run in the touring car race about 20 minutes ago. You would think that the 2 teammates will have discussed this initial start with a NOLA Sport sweep of the front row. Underneath the hood here, looking at maybe the electronics or something on that BMW of Toby Grahovic.
But they have a team plan with these sketchy conditions. Good idea, obviously. Let's have a look this time. When those lights go off on that pace car.
So get down to the brakes on for turn 12, the next corner that the leaders are just approaching. They need to form up and quit the tire warming, just so they can get this massive field in some kind of order. We had kind of a lazy start yesterday with the tail end of the field kind of straggling a little bit for the Pirelli GT4 opening race of the season.
Lights just went out. And when the lights go out, yeah, you're absolutely right. At that point, they're supposed to stop the weaving.
4 Porsche Caymans lead in this field to green. I don't think these NOLA Sport teammates are going to have it all their own way when you look at the talent level on that second row of the grid with Robbie Foley in the Flying Lizard car, and then the Volt Racing entry with Trent Hinman, that bright yellow machine you're looking at right there. They're going to be wanting to charge to the front very quickly.
Yeah, it's a pretty stout group here at this sharp end. You got Trinkler in the Audi, Shimshak, who's very fast in the orange Mercedes, Udell, the Highway Systems Global Motorsports Group, Audi. Those Audis are generally known to make fairly decent downforce. Of course, this is GT4, so it's not on the GT3 level, but it still plays a huge role.
This build is formed up.
Yeah, it looks
really
good.
nicely, looks good.
Through 19, pace car pulls off to the outside of 19, stays there until the field clears the front straight, just in case there's something on the front straight and they need to lead the field the next lap through pit lane. So let's hope there's no need for that. Onto the front we go, and there's going to be the timing and finish line comes up right there, but the start happens a little bit farther down. The only flag will fly, the only time for the green to get this one underway. Watch for it. Green flag flies. We are racing at Circuit of the Americas, round 2 for the Pirelli GT4 America Championship in the Sprint X category. 4 abreast. Big move down to the inside by Foley, Cal.
Yeah, can he make it stick? Hinman's running the cushion around the outside in that bright yellow machine. So the second row takes it around the front row starters and move to the front.
That was a very savvy move by Hinman, but also give a lot of credit to Jason Hart, who pinched it a little bit to not have contact. Thinking more big picture here and not have incident in the start, let them through.
Side by side through the S's. This is sketchy right now. Tire temperatures are not up yet. Nice clean start so far.
So Foley leading through the first half of the seemingly never-ending S's here. With Hinman tucked right in behind. The pole sitter of Hart. The rest of this field. Oh, and Hinman looking racy already.
He is. Can he square it off? Foley down to the inside, compromising his line. Hinman goes to the outside. He looks for it early, side by side. It's a drag race off of turn 11.
What a great move by Hinman. I think Foley was completely expecting him to do the over-under, and Trent said, I'm going to pinch you on the exit and get you down to the inside. These 2 young guns. Look at this drag race, side by side. Nothing between them, literally in terms of space. But Foley has the inside. What does Jason Hart do?
He just sits and waits. He's going to wait and see what these 2 are going to do here, fighting it out for the lead. Hinman now has the inside line for turn 13. Hart fills that gap. He gets inside of Foley. There's no touch. They're giving each other good racing room right now.
Foley again now. Oh, big wiggle there by Hart. Huge save.
He thought about flicking it down to the inside. The grip wasn't there yet.
And Owen Trinkler has worked that Audi up into fourth. Reardon Racing McKenna Audi. Through this triple apex right-hander.
Right about now, these tires are going to start to come in. They're going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable for these drivers, but we expected that second row to make some moves on the Nola Sport Pier on the front row, and it certainly played out that way. Hinman got the hammer down. He's got a nice gap now. Foley's going to have to defend up into turn 1.
And out of 18 into 19, Alec Udell, just saw him in the background, made a move around Capestro Dubé and picks up that 5th spot. Oh,
look at that.
Nice
Hart
pop.
Dives down to the apex. That was really sweet. And he has the grip coming off. Moves that Nola Sport entry back up to second.
Yeah, I don't think Foley expected that at all. And he executed. There goes Trinkler and the 4th car in the frame. There it is, Alec Udell in that Audi.
Hinman now has the lead, but Nola Sport have shown pace all weekend long. In wet and dry conditions, they seem to be the team to beat. What can Jason Hart do with his pole-winning machine there, now sitting in the 2nd position?
Like you said, obviously you don't just want to lay back too long, but he was patient, sensed an opportunity, then made his move. Oh, and he does it again.
Wow, those cars are really hooked up, and the drivers are using it all. Forces him out wide. He's almost in the grass side by side. The two bright yellow Porsche Caymans battling out for the lead. Foley sits in 3rd in that white flying lizard Porsche. Trinkler still in the 4th position, the first Audi in the field.
Look at this again, side by side. And Hart, the inside move. Hinman
has to give it up.
Has to.
Yeah, he's just going to end up trading paint if he tried to fight it any further. Still looks to the inside. Can Hart now get into his rhythm, display the pace that they have been so strong this weekend long. That was almost a touch there as he swings that wide and tries to set up for 15.
I'll tell you, Trent Hinman is special, and he can put that car pretty much anywhere. He's been able to hang on to it. And you have to have the belief that the guy that you're racing, when you go to the outside, will give you that little bit of space.
Good racing respect between these front runners so far. Can Jason Hart now get back into a rhythm and demonstrate that pace advantage that they've seemed to have had all weekend long? Oh, Trinkler in the background there, all up and over the curbs through 19. Nearly loses the Audi in the 4th position.
And as they come by, Hart sets the fastest lap thus far to 2:22.3. Hinman in the Volt lighting cart. Another quick look at the start, Cal.
See, Foley times it perfectly, and the white Cayman to the inside. 4 wide between the leaders up into turn 1, 5 wide deep in the pack. Foley slows it down, and Hinman takes the long way around, gets around both of the Nola Sport entries. Nice clean start. Great job by everyone.
Giving each other just enough room. They start to compress down here. Everybody again giving themselves enough space.
The Stewart's out.
Oh, and that's Jeff Burton. That's a big one, Cal.
Front end completely wiped off of that Audi from Reardon Racing.
That's at the exit of 19. That's pit in where he's sitting right now.
Yeah, may have just hooked a wheel. We saw Trinkler get really sideways at a similar part of the racetrack. So if you can take a look, we're going to see the tail end of this, I think.
Yep.
Probably just slipped over the curb a little bit on the exit of 19. He was deep in the pack there, racing hard.
And the response crews showing up. And you would think, I mean, that's a fairly common thing at the exit of 19. You drop that tire and you just snap across. So obviously under a full course caution, safety car is out. Clock will continue to run at this stage. The safety crews arrive. There's a fair amount of debris down there as well.
Pretty heavy impact.
Yeah.
Not out of the car, so hopefully Jeff's okay.
There he is. He gets out
that's
on his own
great
power.
news.
It's good to see, absolutely. And he's running with Vesko Kozarov, who is an extremely quick driver, but he was holding his own in the racing as well. In yesterday's race, didn't quite get the qualifying that he wanted for this race. But, yeah, that's the best news to see him get out of the car. I'm sure he's gutted. So while we're under caution here, leading overall, the number 47, of course, is Jason Hart. The Pro-Am class, Hinman right there as well, Foley. Variety of Pro-Am machinery up front. Top of the Am ranks right now is the number 31, and that's Al Carter. And that's the body motion car. That's the new Porsche 718 Cayman CSMR GT4. And Al giving it a good ride as he leads the Am category with the Hart entry of Capestro Dubé, second in Am, and third is Shimshak in the number 34 Murillo Fuji Mercedes at this point.
Chance for the drivers to really evaluate what was going on with their race cars in those opening laps. Certainly Jason Hart demonstrating great pace, good patience. Obviously lost the lead early, took his time, got back to the front, and on that last lap as we came across the stripe had a 1 second advantage over the rest of the field. So that's certainly ominous that they may be in a position to repeat here this weekend. But a long way to go. Got to get that pit stop right, got to execute the rest of the way.
Well, and that's the real key, isn't it? When it gets to those pit stops, you know, if you have any kind, somebody sits on the belt wrong during the driver change, and you give up 3, 4, 5 seconds during that pit stop, it can really turn things on the year. Now, as we were talking about, odds are we're not going to see tire changes during that pit stop, but you will see a little bit of strategy as to when you come in. One based on the driver who's in the car, the pace that he has at this point. Is he really quick? Maybe leave him in a little bit longer than he might have originally planned.
Yeah, theoretically at least, we should see later pit stops here today because it should be the faster driver in the car right now. But when you look at that 47 entry, I think he and Travis have very similar pace. So
yes.
You can really just make the call based on pure strategy rather than driver pace as to when you do come in.
And just a little update here as we're watching our monitors. Grahovic came in that classic BMW on that pace lap and has not rejoined as of yet. So apparently whatever problem they sensed was fairly substantial. And it's unfortunate because you have to complete 75% of the leaders' laps in your class to be classified. And if you're not classified, you don't get points.
Yep, that's certainly significant, trying to build a championship charge. And certainly we expected that classic BMW to be very much in the mix for the season.
And of course that NOLA team having that great run yesterday. Well, the driver who'll be taking over from Jason Hart is Matt Travis. He's with Ryan.
Well, let's check in with Matt Travis. Are currently running in first. It looks like some really treacherous conditions out there, though, and it's just been changing all morning long. What does that do to your mindset as you wait to get in the race car?
I'm ready. Jason's doing a great job out there. Really, all the guys at the front are. It's a fierce battle up there, but the Porsche's handling great today, and our crew and our engineer have done a fantastic job of giving us a great car. So I'm really excited to get in, hopefully in P1, but we'll see how it goes. And either way, excited to fight for the finish in whatever conditions we'll have.
It was a great start to the weekend yesterday with race 1. What lessons can you take from that to apply today?
We have a couple takeaways from a setup standpoint. Obviously, with different conditions, not everything translates. Jason's providing some feedback that'll be helpful for me and warming up the tires for me, so I'm ready to go.
To see Jason out there battling with the likes of Trent Hidman, that's got to put a smile on your face.
That was pretty neat to see, and I'm sure we haven't seen all of it. Neat to see the highlighter yellow cars going at it. Both great drivers, both great programs, but I think we're going to come out on top.
Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, well, based on what they showed yesterday, I wouldn't be betting against him at this stage, that's for sure.
Matt looked cold. I think he's going to have to do some jumping jacks or something before he gets in the car, because he's got to burst into life pretty quickly. It's tough sitting there. It's a very cold and damp pit lane right now, so for the co-drivers, you got to be ready to go and ready to switch it on when it is your turn behind the wheel.
By the way, just a shout out to the 55 Core Autosport entry. The Nate Stacy started that car 15th and has already got it up into the top 10. And that's one of those Mustangs, big V8, a little heavier than some of the other cars. And in these cool, dampish conditions, that can be playing into his strengths with Nate up on the wheel and doing a great job early here.
Yeah, and Jason Wolf as well. He started down in the 22nd position,
Yeah,
is
good
right
point.
behind Nate Stacy, so he's up to the 11th. He's halfway there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if people, if you haven't been following World Challenge competition in the U.S. for a while, you may not recognize the name Jason Wolf, but a few years ago, he did 2 seasons with Kinetic Motorsports in the TCA category, and I think it was a Kia Forte Coupe. And over those 2 seasons, won the championship both year and had something like a 60% win ratio. I mean, the kid's quick.
Yeah, and through that relationship at Kinetic, he's got Nick Johnson, who's been his driver coach and kind of mentor for many seasons now, working here with ST Racing and working with Samantha. So I think they're going to go from strength to strength this season under that guidance.
Yeah, no question. Really, really a wonderful young talent, to be sure. And in the past couple of years, after that last championship here in 2015, he did a little bit of racing in 2016 here. Then in 2017, he went and ran TCR in the German ADAC championship. And then last year just did some Brit GT4 racing in the Jag F-Type GT4 in the Invictus Games team. So he's got some European experience that he can draw on as well.
And I think what Nick Johnson has tried to do with him is just to get him into different cars, different championships, and kind of accelerate that learning curve. And I think Jason is a really strong young talent, and every time he jumps in a car, he seems to be at the sharp end.
It looks like the great work here by the EV crews and the track crews. Looks like that cleanup is already almost done, and we may be able to get back to racing here. I would say possibly even as early as the next lap. And if we're really optimistic, we'll watch those lights in that pace car, because race control, if they decide, yep, it'll be cleaned up, they can shut those lights off and we can go. Right now we're about 10 minutes away from that mandatory pit window opening, so we get some good racing before that happens, and that's good to know as well. And let's get down right now. Again, Ryan has found Mike Johnson down in the pit lane. Nice to have him up in the pit box.
Well, Mike, wanted to touch base with you. The car's running P2 at the moment, but from a setup perspective, how did you approach the race here this morning with variable conditions? Mike's talking to Trent right now on the radio, but how did you approach the setup this morning?
To be honest, we didn't change anything from what we did yesterday. The car worked pretty well. Alan obviously had that little incident in the morning, and then, or in the beginning of the race, came right back through the field, and then Trent did what he did. So right now we're really happy with the car. You know, you don't know. It's very cold. It's very, very cold. But, you know, with the slick tires, they're excellent tires, and they seem to be doing really well. So I think it took a few laps when that misting came out, but our car's really good, so we didn't change anything.
Yeah, what has Trent said so far, especially to try and get Alan prepared for his stint?
He's just trying to get the ABS dialed in, the traction control dialed in, but the changes, the track conditions keep changing. So I bet when we go back to green for Alan, it'll be dry, it'll be fine. We'll be good to go.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And speaking of going back to green, we are going to do that now. And look at Trent. He is right there, ready to get after this. And how nice, one, to have Park Place over and running in this championship, Dallas-based team, and to have Mike Johnson at the helm of that team, a real wizard in terms of strategy.
Yeah, it's a top-notch group, and what he's talking about is adjusting the electronics. That TC, traction control, can kick in, but it can be too intrusive, so you're not getting the full acceleration off the corners. So Trent's job is to certainly bring the car in the best position, but also have it in the best shape, tuned and dialed in for Alan Brynjolfsson, his teammate.
And Trent was close enough for a little bit there for your leader Hart to see nothing but eyeballs in his mirrors here as we go back to racing. Green flag flies, and nice job by Hart getting a little bit of a gap up behind him. Yeah.
Trinkler, a big move, and Alec Udell's there as well. The two Audis putting the pressure on Foley there. Alec Udell puts the meat in the sandwich of that little trifecta and slice it. He tries to get to the apex. Foley fills it. Great racing there up into turn one.
May have been just the slightest of taps, but everybody under control and behind them. Looks like everybody's sliding through, sometimes literally, but making it through fairly cleanly. And keep an eye on that number 2 Audi. I thought I saw maybe from that little bit of contact, the inlet panel on the side on the right of the car has maybe come loose. Keep an eye on that. That can act as a little bit of an air brake here as Hinman starts the attack once again on the 47 of Hart.
Yeah, he will have learned and recognized where that Nola Sport entry is strong, but despite the experience and speed of Trent Hinman, Jason Hart just looks really stout there at the front of the pack right now.
Yeah, the engineering crew there at Nola Sport deserves big shout outs here. It looks like, yeah, that panel was loosened up. Now it's off, so it won't be an issue for Udell other than it may not direct the air into the engine like he'd like, but it's cool enough, should be okay.
It's good restarts for both Trinkler and Udell, but we still see 4 Porsche Caymans at the front of this field right now.
Yeah, it was a good launch here.
Udell protecting the middle of the road there in the 5th position. That first of the Audis, the black and gray machine.
Al Carter had a tremendous restart, didn't he? Went from 6th up into that 4th spot. And those Audis and everybody got into their little bit of, let me borrow your phrase, argy-bargy as Hinman a wiggle and then tried to stick it down the inside. I think Carter just watched what was unfolding, cut underneath him.
Just see some debris flying in the background.
That's that right inlet panel in front of the rear wheel on Udell's Audi. I saw it get bent when they had that contact, and it finally just fell off.
Settling in, it just seems the more laps you get underneath these race cars, the stronger that 47 gets.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting to, is the engineering team at NOLA they have nailed that setup.
Well, these teams, they're all pretty green as to what it really takes to make this Cayman tick. Some of the teams didn't even receive their cars till last weekend and immediately out there putting laps underneath them. Casey in Point, the Flying Lizard team, got the cars last Sunday, then had 2 more delivered later in the day. So it's early days yet and really fine-tuning that Porsche, but certainly it's showing its mettle early in this championship season.
Yeah, and everybody's saying with that 718 Cayman, they said everything the previous car did well, they either kept or improved a little bit, but it's just in the engine department noticeably, and they said some of the changes that they've made have just made it a bit more responsive and improved the drivability of it, and boy, it's showing. There's the number.
CD there in a fierce battle for position, dropped from the front row back to the 7th spot. And
there's Udell coming up on the inside of Carter. That's for 4th.
First of the Audis.
He had to kind of pinch the entry a little bit and realized that Carter might be doing the over-under. Immediately moved over to try and dissuade him from that.
Oh, look at Hinman, looks to the inside, picks up the draft. Pushes down, going to get to the apex side by side right there. Needs to give him a little bit of room. Hart will have the inside for the next corner. Can Hinman do the undercut? He likes that outside lane as well.
Boy, that's good respect between those two drivers, isn't it?
Nowhere to go with it right now. Hart will have to compromise his entry a little bit. Hinman will get the power down a little bit sooner, but again, nowhere to go with it.
Now we saw Maxi Book in the GT3 race yesterday work the outside, make that pass, and Hinman's willing to give it a go. Finally has to tuck back in behind.
Great racing.
Yeah, fabulous.
So Mike Johnson alluded to just dialing in the traction control, the ABS settings. Hinman's car looks a little bit stronger after this restart, so maybe he's found some magic formula there.
And in the background, Trinkler now starting to work over Carter for the 5th spot. Carter had that great restart.
That Nola Sport car really seems to accelerate a little bit stronger than Hinman's car. Shimshak, after that little spin on the opening lap, still very much in the mix, running in the 8th position in that bright orange Mercedes AMG, just exiting turn 1, as you could see.
Yeah, but he is now under attack from Nate Stacy in the 55 Core Motorsports Mustang. See him in the back of the frame. He's really glued to the back of Shimshak right now.
Udell closing in on Foley for that 3rd position. That looks like that battle's going to intensify. Using all of the curb there. Eating them up. That's totally legal as long as you've got at least 2 wheels. Oh, that was not legal right there.
Hart was way wide.
Yeah, I'll get a warning for that one. 3 or 4 warnings and you're going to have a problem. So just had to open up his hand there. Obviously had a little bit of a twitch. Had to use more of the road than is allowed, but they'll get a few mulligans, Greg, but then they'll get penalized for that.
Yeah. And when they get to that 4th one, that's generally when that penalty happens here. That battle for 5th has turned into a great 5-car scrap. Here again, Hinman pops out, not as close this time, just shows the nose a little bit. And obviously don't want to miss any kind of a move or pass for the lead here as Hinman ducks to the inside.
That was tight.
That was very tight.
Just great respect to 2 drivers going hard at it. Hinman's been here before, cut and paste from the earlier lap, and now he's going to try and run the outside. Hart's not going to give it to him.
This is fun stuff. Looks back to the inside, but Hinman runs right through a
this is
puddle
really
there.
tight.
Yeah,
He has to give up some speed. He can't hold that speed, otherwise he's going to get into the side of the 47 machine. This is just allowing Foley and Udell to close in on these leaders. With these two duking
Hinman
it out.
came through 19 really quickly. Not enough, but boy, I thought he might have a run down into the last turn. And you're right, Foley is protecting as Udell is on the wheel.
2 great battles going on here at the front of the field. Porsche versus Porsche, then Porsche versus Audi. Udell having a storming run here in the opening laps. Goes to the outside really deep on the brakes. Can he hold it? He should have the inside line for turn 2. Yes, he does. He clears him.
Yeah, he drifted. Udell drifted left. Foley went with him, and then Udell sort of sold him a little bit of bait there and then popped back to the outside. That was great. Brilliant driving. Udell is pretty solid around this track.
Yeah, he goes well there, doesn't he?
He certainly does. That Highway Systems GMG Grid Sport Audi is working as well. Alec Udell, tabbed by many for a couple of years, is a real up-and-comer. Hope he can land himself a full season ride.
Yeah, this is just a one-off for now. Jason Bell is slated to run the full sprint championship, but I think you'll like the outing that they're having here this weekend, and maybe we'll see he and Jason participate a few more times this year. Hinman still keeping the pressure on Jason Hart. I wonder if the pressure wasn't there, whether Jason could get into more of a rhythm and maybe run quicker lap times, but Hinman's not allowing him to relax for a moment.
And Schrinkler there in the blue and white Audi, sitting in the 5th spot, has finally got himself a little bit of breathing room over that battle behind him, which is now a multi-car scrum for the 6th spot. Again, this is where Hinman trying to figure out a way to get creative.
Yeah, and he's going to see the Audi coming up behind him as well as we drop deeper into the pack. There's Nate Stacy. Great battle there with Shimshak with that bright orange Mercedes.
And the 46 at Campestre Dubé, the second of the NOLA Sport cars, the green nose car, has gone around Carter in the body motion, that white Porsche, then Shimshak in the orange Mercedes, and Stacy in the green and white Mustang. And we've got a change. Hinman made it stick as they work through the stadium.
Awesome stuff, and Udell is right there. He just ran his fastest middle sector of the race, looks to the inside, gives it up. Hart is not looking in his rearview mirrors. He's got his eyes glued on that bright yellow Volt Racing machine ahead of him. Udell has to be aware of that. I think Jason's got fixated on the leader to get the lead back. He's probably not aware of the moves that Alec Udell is putting on right behind him.
Udell looks not quite close enough. Doesn't want to do anything drastic. I think Hart tried a little wider entry, see if he get a better run off here. Hinman got that working nicely. Here comes Udell. Boy, did he get a run through 2.
Yeah, we look like the Porsche Caymans had the upper hand, but Alec Udell is certainly making a liar of us now, Greg, because he's got that Audi right in the mix.
up into the second set of S's, and they just continue to get more snug every time you make the turn here. And there you clear it. You head now into that kink, turn 10.
Beautiful execution there of turn 9 by our leader, Trent Hinman.
Yeah, absolutely. From tip to tail. Yep.
Looks like is that little move that he does to the middle of the track, is that avoiding a bump, or is that just in case somebody gets a run just to...
Yeah, we used to see it a bit more magnified in years past. They've done some milling or grinding to the racetrack and taken out the big bumps. We're still seeing a few of the drivers make that little move. Sometimes it becomes a bit of a habit.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Almost like setting up for a Scandinavian flick there.
Why do you do that? Well, I always have. Jason Hart now, as Henman has opened up a margin of a few car lengths. This is the biggest lead we've seen for a while. Hart has a mirror full of GMG Audi.
Through this section here, I think Hinman was a little bit quicker than Hart. You're seeing Udell really close to Hart as well through that stadium section as we begin it at least.
Yeah, this racing has been so absolutely fascinating. We've missed the fact that pit window's open. That's okay. This is great stuff.
Typically, faster guys started this race according to the grading, so we may see some of these drivers extend their run towards the end of the pit window, which is about another 7 minutes away. You have to have been on pit lane sometime between the 25 and 35-minute mark of the race. You don't have to have completed the driver change and everything and have exited pit lane, but have been on pit lane. Break that pit entrance.
So the crews obviously will be gearing up and ready. It looks like, is that Shimshak?
Yes.
Has made the move? Or is that Parker?
Chase, yeah.
Parker Chase, possibly. You see for that bright orange machine? Well, I think he's in.
Drew Davis having a nice solid run here today, as you would expect. The more experienced drivers in this field, the Kelly Moss Racing Group, really putting the pressure on Alcada right now. Alcada had a great opening stanza, but has faded a little bit as this run has gone on, so maybe his tires have gone away a little bit. You see him working there, trying to find the grip, get the car dialed in, take a second bite of that turn 8 area.
Adam Poland is right in that mix as well.
It's good to see. Sharing a car with one of the more experienced World Challenge drivers in Andy Pilgrim.
2005 GT champ.
Davis looking down to the inside. Hinman increasing the lead. Things settling down a little bit behind him.
This is that same group that's run at the front. There's Trinkler. Trinkler's got good pace, just not quite enough to run up and join these guys as of yet.
Hinman's last lap was the fastest lap of the race at a 2:18 flat. Guys chasing him 3/10 off of that pace. So Mike Johnson talked about him dialing it in. He certainly found the magic, and the balance has come to him. The more laps we get underneath the race car, so maybe just starting pressures, they're a little bit lower than maybe Jason Hart's. It looked like Hart's car came to life very quickly. All of this information will be relayed by Trent Hinman over the radio to Mike Johnson for Alan Brynjolfsson to know what he's got underneath him when he jumps behind the wheel.
And they stay out, so you would expect next lap we would start to see a rather large group. Ooh, that's tough racing. 3 abreast at the apex of 19. A couple of drivers making their way down the pits. Carter heading in, Poland heading in.
I'm not sure on the leaders. Certainly they can do one more. I'm not sure if they can get 2 more laps and still be within the time frame to get it done.
I'd be a little conservative at this stage.
Yeah, there's no point in they've got good data. They've got better data than we have right now to work that out. But even so, you don't want to run afoul of that rule.
Meanwhile, this great battle up front. Those 3 easing away just a little bit. Now from Foley, looks like Trinkler
It's great. Him in there for his first pit stop.
Capestro Dubé now are having a good little scrap. The second of the NOLA sport cars, finding some speed late in JCD's stint, finding a little more speed. He's been fast.
Looking at some of the early pit stoppers, Jason Wolf was in the number 38 ST Racing, and I think they're too quick on pit lane. They had a 76.9 second stop. That's not going to be called with the 81 second regulation, so they're going to be coming back down pit lane again.
Yeah, that infraction is a drive-through. Very, very costly.
2:18 minute fast lap time. Looking at the clock there, can't really afford to have any more than 27:18 on the board when you get to pit in. Otherwise, you need to be in this lap. So the leaders would be the only drivers and cars able to maybe sneak another lap out. I think anyone deeper in the pack will need to be in this lap.
Unfortunate for Adam Poland turning over to Andy Pilgrim, a long stop.
Here they come.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
it would have been tight, Greg. Yep. Looking at the clock, it would have been really super
really
tight to make it.
That's where the pit lane speed limit is, where those cones are.
Anyone who hasn't pitted yet needs to be in on this lap. You're not going to sneak another one. The leaders couldn't do it. You certainly will not.
And everybody at the front pitting together here, so I'm not sure we're going to see any kind of an overcut due to the race, but this is where you've got to execute this driver change. We've already seen a couple of 90-second stops. That's absolutely not what you want. Best stop so far I see is Harry Gottsager turning over to John Miller at 82 seconds. There is that Volt lighting. Park Place Motorsports crew getting that change done. There's Mike overseeing it all. Foley out.
Michael Dinan now behind the wheel. Team is really impressed with his potential. Oh, look at this. NOLA Sport cut it a little bit finer, and they leapfrog around Alan Brynjolfsson.
Now the question is, how fine?
Yeah.
Interesting to see what the 47 comes up on the board with here.
Oh, too quick.
Too quick.
80.3, 7/10 quicker, and that's how they got that jump. Hinman to Brynjolfsson, 82.6. They're good to go.
Foley to Dinan. Look at that one. 81.4 seconds. That's about as close as you want to cut it.
Yeah, Jim Bell and the Flying Lizard group totally on top of that. So it was a nice, good stop for the Foley to Dinan switch. But Jason Hart to Travers was too fast. That's going to give the track position back to Alan Brynjolfsson. But we have to wait for everyone to cycle through here to see who will end up with the lead of this race.
And Udell turning over to Jason. That's a little bit slower than they would have wanted.
86.8 is leaving 5 seconds almost on the table.
That's tough.
Experience level of the driver, some will be faster to get up to speed than
So
others.
two teams going to get dinged. The 38 ST Racing and our pole sitting car. 47 Jason Hart switching over to Travis. Just a few tenths too fast.
Well, and Travis just absolutely setting sail as fast as he can to try and minimize the damage when he does that drive through.
You can play a little bit of a game. Theoretically, at least, you could sort of leaf. Look at this little gaggle. I was going to get to is if you leapfrog in front of a car, then slow down to make sure you don't get underneath that minimum delta time. Thought that was what the game they may be playing, but Travis just kept with it and just ran afoul of that timing line.
Anthony Girazzi now in that white Krug-Speed Ginetta, just sneaking around and getting by Sarah Cattaneo, who's taken over for Trinkler.
Should be the lesser experienced driver behind the wheel now, theoretically, based on the rules of the format, where driver one, qualifier one for race one is now finishing the deal here for race number 2.
And this essentially is the battle for the lead As once again, Travis stays out a little bit. Behind him now, Brynjolfsson and Dynan. The bright yellow, all yellow, came in the white and black one. Is up front again. I think Travis is just trying to. He can stay, as you said, he can stay out a little bit and try and build a margin. But once you get the penalty board, you can only pass that twice. And if you don't pit, then it becomes more severe. So I'm sure Matt's aware of that. The team's certainly aware of it. They're just telling him, all right, go like stink right now and then come in this lap, try and open up some sort of a margin to keep us in the hunt.
Brynjolfsson and Hinman had a great Sprint X victory at VIR last year, so they've certainly got the potential. Alan really doing a nice job. He's one of these gentleman drivers who just really takes this game very, very seriously. Very successful businessman. He's running with a great group led by Mike Johnson, now under the Park Place Racing banner. And he's got a great teammate and tutor in Trent Hinman. He's the real deal. He's got a lot of pace and he's really settled down.
It's a very quick
last
study.
Couple of seasons, yes.
He really has picked it up, yeah. And then Udell turning over to Jason Bell.
Remember, all of these drivers just kind of getting in the groove now, feeling out these track conditions for the first time today. A couple of laps underneath them, but they go out on relatively hot tires, of course. No tire changes, so a little bit easier conditions than the drivers who started this race.
Keeping an eye on the timing screens, which has an indicator of when a car enters the pits. See if Hart does make that, Travis does make that move into the pits this time. Here he is, stays out.
We're reading the data that shows that he was too quick. I haven't seen anything come up on the message system to tell the team to get him into pit lane, so we've only just completed the window for all of the pit stops. I'm sure the stewards are analyzing the data.
Well, that's okay by them, because if it takes a little while for them to make that call, he can just continue to build whatever little lead he can at this stage. I mean, it's up to 8.5+ seconds here, and he's running thus far quicker than anybody else on the track. So that'll play into their other hands here if they end up having to make the stop.
You're going to lose about 30-odd seconds coming down pit lane at 50 kilometers an hour compared to someone staying out on the racetrack at green. So that would drop him just inside the top 10. We've got the correct information here, and we truly believe that he was 7/10 too quick on his pit stop and will have to serve a drive-through penalty.
Qualifying in both their respective groups and the local, the Texas guys.
Meanwhile, watching Brynjolfsson here doing a nice job in front of Dynan. Jason Bell in the number 2. Grid Sports Highway Systems Global Motorsports Group Audi still right there in the 4th spot. The number 34 Murillo Fuji Mercedes with Fosnot now behind the wheel. They did a nice job on that exchange, and they're now 5th overall.
Yeah, basically, with a lot of these cars,
Essentially leading the AM category. Golinello taking over from Nate Stacy, having moved up nicely as well. There's that group.
Already having another race run here today. Second in the AM division
problem
right now.
The cars there.
Swell. That left front corner is down. Looked like it was at a weird angle as we saw it tails away.
It looked like the 28 ST Racing entry of John Miller had snuck around the 55 Mustang of Golinello.
Travis continues to roll.
Yeah, the data we've seen pretty clear on our
team is saying that they know nothing of any penalties, so we'll have to wait and see how this one plays out.
Well, he's doing a brilliant job at this stage, Travis is. Either way, although Brynjolfsson now just turned a 2:22.7, so he's getting a little bit closer to Travis's times. I'm more concerned for Brynjolfsson right now is Dynan just turned a 2:21, went a second quicker than Brynjolfsson did on that last lap. Fosnot a second and a half quicker than Dynan at this stage. Problem is he's got a big deficit at this stage of some 10 seconds to make up. This is getting interesting here as Dynan has definitely found some speed.
Yeah, he's a really impressive young man. Tends to be a little bit conservative talking to the team right now, which is fine. But he's got himself in a really good position right now, putting the heat on Brynjolfsson. So just ticking the apex curbing there, threw him out wide. Fosnot now up to the 4th position, having a brilliant run today.
Dynan also relatively new to racing. And another one of those guys that has just absolutely picked it up very quickly. But
that learning curve is just so accelerated when you have a good teammate, a mentor and coach. And talking to Jim Bell, he said Robbie Foley's a really fine young driver, great pace, he said. And he's worked with a lot of great coaches over the years, guys like Terry Borscheller and folks like that. And he just said Robbie is really, really a strong coach, and that really helps things immensely for the engineer and the whole team.
Well, a coach, I mean, you know, obviously, the obvious, you know, go out, set a measure in the car, and you can, you know, compare data, but also just sometimes getting into the driver's head a little bit and helping them understand, you know, you're going to come across these situations, here's how you have to deal with it, and just, you know, learn to get that sort of airline pilot calm that really pays big dividends when you get into some serious, serious action.
Yeah, it's all about discipline. You've got to be determined. You've got to have the dedication to be fit and really look at the data and think about the game. And now we finally see that drive-through penalty we had anticipated. Team were not aware of it initially.
And he'd taken that margin up, Travis had to about 11 seconds. So
yeah, there is something on the message board, drive-through penalty for a short pit stop. So that's a big pill to take right now.
And all due credit to race control for making sure that that was an accurate scenario before imposing the penalty. And it will be interesting to see now where Travis comes back out into the mix.
This is now the leader. Brynjolfsson, can he hang on? Michael Dynan just hovering, shadowing. Hasn't really been close enough to think about a move just yet.
Well, they just ran virtually identical laps, Brynjolfsson and Dynan. Of concern to them maybe is the pace right now, Fosnot.
This is where Brynjolfsson needs to lean on the experience of having a win before.
Yep.
He's been in this position. Just needs to really hit his marks, keep it clean.
But I'll tell you, John Miller is throwing down some laps, Cal. He has just run a series of 2:19s. And everybody in front of him is 2:20s or higher. Very, very impressive stuff. Now, we just saw that drive-through penalty for Matt Travis. Ryan has found the starting driver for the team, Jason Hart.
Well, Jason Hart had a tremendous opening stint to start this race. Took the car over to your co-driver in the lead. Unfortunately, we just saw the car come up in the lane to serve the penalty. Can you take us through the timeline of how the penalty was communicated with you guys? Because initially it sounded like you were unaware of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely unaware. We actually found out from you. So, you know, you got to live in a lot of truth and reality. And yesterday we had a lot of truth and we won. And today our truth is that we made a mistake. So probably we'll never see that happen again. But we did make the mistake. We took the penalty. Now it's 2.5 seconds faster than the Volt car. And they're actually racing the 21 car for the championship, if you will. So Matt's just going to bury it. See if he can catch him.
And your stint, you had a great battle going on with Trent Hidman. How much fun did you have behind the wheel?
That's a blast. I have a lot of fun racing with Trent. Every time after a race, we always talk to each other and congratulate each other. I actually didn't see him in 11 when we had a touch. I went and apologized for that. He said no worries. He figured I didn't see him. He was right in that back corner. But a lot of respect between us. I always enjoy racing Trent.
Sorry to see the penalty, but hopefully we'll have something for us here at the end with Matt on a tear.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thank you.
You take a look at the pace that team's capable of and the amount of time left. It's possible.
It is.
I mean, he's only 4 seconds adrift of Fasnacht right now.
Yeah, he and Miller both have the potential to jump back onto the podium, maybe even a win. So it's going to be hammer time for Travis. 13 seconds behind the leader right now with a lot of time on the board, 13 minutes to go. So it's basically a second per minute that he needs to cut into it. So he needs about a 2-second a lap advantage over the leaders to catch them before the checkered flag.
Some looking here at this lead battle, of course, and then as we're taking a look at the run order. There's Fasnacht sitting now in that third spot and making time up another lap where he was over a second quicker than this duo. Travis, then Miller, who's been the fastest guy on the track consistently here. But an interesting little battle back in 7th. Jared Andretti has taken over in the Andretti Autosport McLaren, and Reinhold Renger took over from Parker Chase in the Rentec Mercedes, and they didn't have the quickest of stops, and Renger has been throwing down some laps, and he has caught Andretti. So some interesting things developing throughout the field here. But good run here. Here's that battle we were just talking about.
Andretti leading the AM class right now. Had the win yesterday that was stripped from them last night. Haven't found that McLaren was way underweight. There's a little bit of a miscommunication on the rules in terms of how the car is weighed, but they've certainly rectified that, and they've got the car back to the front. So that's making a statement. When you have a bad day or have a good day and it's ruined in technical inspection and come back the next day, that's the great thing about double headers. You can fix it immediately. Great to see Andretti Autosport back out front.
Having a really solid runner behind them, the 29 of Raphael and the 3 of Clay, the 2 BMWs from the different teams. They've been swapping positions the last couple of laps, so some great racing everywhere here. But Reinhold Renger, we've laughed about this a little bit, that the reason he's rated as quote-unquote low as he is on the driver rating scale is age. In terms of speed, he is still wicked quick. A real superstar in European GT racing over the years. And so Andretti's racing one of the best right now.
He is, and certainly Jared does not have the road racing experience that the man behind him does, so this will be a good learning process for him. See if he can hang on. That McLaren's certainly a stout piece. Got to revamp the whole McLaren GT4 customer racing program over the course of the last 12 months.
Looking at the lap times here, Dynan stays within now a second of Brynjolfsson.
Big key is Travis. Right now he's 11 seconds behind. Running lap times is 2 seconds better than the leaders. The question is going to be whether he can catch the leaders before we see the checkered flag here today.
A great battle with Renger and Andretti. And Fasnacht, I'll tell you, he is still turning some awfully impressive time scale. His last lap again, 2 seconds quicker. It's just going to be a 3-car battle at the front in relatively short order.
That's for sure. It could be a 5-car battle because Miller and Travis continue to cut into the lead big time. Running laps 2:19.7s compared to low 22s for our 2 leaders right now, Brynjolfsson and Dynan.
Well, there's some great racing throughout this field. There's the 67. That's Kevin Woods in the Racers group. Porsche. He and Raphael having a really stout battle. That's for 10th. So everywhere we're looking in this field, Cal, we're seeing some awfully good battling. Justin Raphael.
GT4 racing tends to do that, Greg.
Yes,
it's a real melting pot with 8 manufacturers involved. And it seems like all of them have really strong pace. It's going to be a great season. So Travis was 11 seconds behind. Now he's 9 seconds behind, sitting in the 4th position still, though.
And Renger right alongside Andretti as they came out of turn 20, the last turn. That McLaren looked like he may have a little bit better radius in that. Oh, but he really overshot.
Just took it in really deep, very shallow angle. Thought that Renger may be making a move, and that's the experience showing there. Reinhold Renger just stayed on line and executed the pass on the exit of turn 1.
Opportunity now, if Jarrett can stay with Reinhold, as we said. Reinhold's credentials in GT cars globally are just superb, and an opportunity for Andretti to watch and learn. Obviously, a couple of different chassis they probably working with.
Different class too, so Jarrett can't get too involved in the raciness there. Just focus on his class, which he leads along with Carl Thompson. And here's the battle up front, but you can see Fastnat is catching them in that bright orange Mercedes AMG.
Yeah,
Travis and Miller getting ever closer as well.
And catching some traffic. They're catching it in this stadium section here. Nice job. Just moving out of the way. I think that's Stu Briscoe in the Kelly Moss Road and Race entry he shares with Andrew Davis. And he saw him coming and just got way out of the way.
Brynjolfsson starting to cut his lap times now in the 2:21 range. That will help. Mike Johnson will certainly be analyzing if there's time on the clock for the drivers in 3rd, 4th, and 5th position to catch this lead duo. Brynjolfsson's battle for the win may not just be with Dynan, who's right behind him.
Exactly.
He's got to look a lot further back.
Well, and Travis also, yeah, as you said, he's only a couple of seconds now behind Fastnat, and Miller is within a second and running a little quicker on occasion.
This could be a 5-car battle for the lead as we come with the checkered flag here this afternoon.
Oh, look at this group. Travis and Miller. Miller, that is the car again of Briscoe.
It's not a pass for position. Miller ran with Samantha Tant last year.
And put up a couple of very strong runs. We first started to see John Miller when he made his first appearance in World Challenge competition, was running in the touring car division. We started calling him Mr. Excitement because he would just throw that car around.
Correction, he ran with the Aurora Strauss last year with the ST Racing.
Oh, that's
team.
right. Yeah, actually helped her to a couple of class wins, and I think she ended up 3rd in the championship in that category. So he was instrumental in that. He is quick. Oh boy, Brynjolfsson now. Dynan is just filling his mirrors, and again, Fastnat that last lap about a second and a half quicker.
Clock is winding down.
There's Miller.
This is going to get really interesting. Back time in this race to see if they have to do an extra lap or really close in terms of how they cross the stripe. Only 3 laps to go, I feel.
Yeah, Mercedes is a car we've just kind of raved about how compliant it is, and the fact that it can eat curbs and not upset the platform. And generally that means in damp conditions or cold conditions, you can get some really good weight transfer and get that thing to stick. And Fastnat has discovered the secret.
He certainly has, but Travis is inching up on the rear bumper of that Mercedes AMG, and Miller's not that far behind as well. All about the clock and looking at it. Is there going to be 2 more laps to go or 3? I think there's going to be 3.
I think
the
so.
leaders are going to have time for 3 more laps. And that is crucial. Give these guys a little bit more time to chase down those leaders. Going to be super tight looking at the clock. Super tight as to whether it's 2 or 3 more laps.
A little bit more drama to throw into the mix here.
No, are they going to throw the white the next time or wait?
Here's Travis. And he's just done a superb job understanding the mission, as Jason Hart put it, just plan it and try and run him down. And he's done exactly that. Brynjolfsson, after having Dynan absolutely glued to him here, has actually managed to open up a little bit of a margin again.
Yeah, about 3/10 quicker on that last lap. Then he gets a little bit wide there. Dynan looks closer this go around. Dynan took 4/10 out of the lead on that first sector alone, so he is inching closer to the lead. But look behind them.
Yeah.
It is compressing. It's going to turn into a 5-car battle. It's going to be a real key as to whether they're on their second from last lap or their third from last lap, Greg. It's going to be super tight when we see them cross the line. Leaders are running 221s.
And you know the Lizards crew is telling Dynan, go. You get in front of Brynjolfsson now, so you've got him between you and these faster cars coming up. Brynjolfsson will be getting the opposite message.
So it was like you'd like to slow it down so there's not enough time for 2.5 more laps, and it's just 1.5 laps to go. Look, ever menacing Travis now right on the tail of Fastnart. That could be a factor too in terms of how hard those two drivers race before they get to the leaders. What a recovery drive by Matt Travis, serving that drive-through penalty for being 0.7 too quick on the minimum pit lane delta time.
This is going to be incredibly close in terms of time.
Yes. Well, it really depends on who's going to be leading the race if there's enough time, because the drivers in the 3rd and 4th position are running 2:18s compared to 2:21s up front. Looking at the clock there, remember it's that early stripe. And the leader's last lap was a 2:21.7. There's less than that to go, so theoretically, this should be the last lap.
Yes, it is.
The flag is out. That's big.
Yeah.
Sigh of relief.
Oh, look at this. Here comes Travis on Fastnart for 3rd.
He has to go. It is go time. Needs to clear him. He does. He gets the power down. I think he's going to clear him, but Fastnart comes back at him. He doesn't want to give it up. This is crucial for Brynjolfsson. How quickly can Travis clear Fastnart?
And he got him. He got him. And at the same time, Dynan actually had a really good lap, but then lost it up into turn 1. I think he ran a little wide. And now Travis is all over the back of Dynan, and Brynjolfsson has a little breathing room.
Oh, and Fastnart's really wide. I'm not sure if he's got a cut down tire or something. He is really wide.
Ooh.
Travis to the inside. He needs to make that move before turn 11. He has to undercut him. He does. He gets up to the 2nd position. He's got to chase down the leader. Watch for that stadium section.
Too, yes.
But Matt Fastnart now has a lead too.
Yeah, Dynan just ran way wide and Travis pounced.
I thought Fastnart had a problem. He is so wide there through the completion of the S's. Brynjolfsson continues to lead. Travis chasing him down. Can he get to him by the stadium section? Turn 15 could be the crucial corner, maybe the last opportunity for a move.
And that bit of an exchange for that 3rd, 4th, and 5th has brought Miller right into the mix as well in the BMW. Oh, Dynan coming from way back on Fastnart. Fastnart cuts across.
Traffic up ahead.
Oh, he
will
runs
that be a
way
factor?
wide.
Brynjolfsson looking good. He has a nice 5-6 car lead right now. Is it enough to hang on for victory?
Travis is coming. There's that battle for 3rd.
Miller has joined the attack as well.
Yep, and it's
traffic up ahead of the leaders. Will that be a factor here through the final couple of corners?
It's a matter of experience sometimes working traffic. Here we go.
There it is. It allows Travis to close down into turn 19. 1 corner to go. Does Travis put it all on the line?
He floats way wide. Here we go. Brynjolfsson trying to hang on. Travis trying to get the run out of 20. Onto the front straight. They're both sideways. Too much sideways for Travis. Brynjolfsson and Volt Lighting in Park Place in their debut weekend in the championship bring it home with a win. What a race. Fastnart hangs on for 3rd, and Miller nipped Dynan right at the end for 4th, Cal.
What a battle.
Oh.
What a battle. Fantastic.
There's Christian Shimshak, absolutely delighted. Remember, he had that little off on the pace lap.
Murillo leading the charge there. Great group of guys, great team, great result.
And Fastnart, that team winning the AM category as well. 3rd overall winning an AM. That's pretty solid stuff. And again, Miller, what a relentless charge he made up through the pack. Watching some of the other cars, there comes Jared Andretti.
He wins the overall AM division.
Right, yeah, puts him basically in the combined AM category in 3rd. We've got the regional series here as well, East and West. They got Pro-Am and AM. It's not a full season championship, and they're sort of folded in. But again, of all the AM competitors, Fastnart and Shimshak doing the job. But wow, what a battle at the front. And that margin at the end between those cars at the sharp end of things, considering how far back some of them came from, and Travis's drive after a drive-through penalty, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was so crucial. I mean, another 5 or 6 seconds on the board, and we'd been done an additional lap. It could have been a completely different story.
And Brynjolfsson, again, not as much experience as some of these guys in the field, and he drove a superb final couple of laps and bringing it home for a win. And Mike Johnson absolutely delighted. He said, no, we liked the car. We didn't make any changes to it. And it showed with a great, great run.
That was a heck of a race.
Great fun. Great fun. Let's see, completing the top 10, the 67. The Woods and Belomo Racers Group car ended up 8th in the overall run order and 2nd of the AM class cars. So that was a very solid run. 9th, James Clay. Again, team with Randy Mueller. And rounding up the top 10 is the Stavely Gannett car. Superb job. Just outside of the top 10, the Andretti Carl Thompson entry. Boy, that was absolutely exhilarating.
That traffic
chase.
just delayed Brynjolfsson through turn 18, enough to get Travis right on his tail. And, great respect by Matt Travis by not diving down there and making it ugly in the final corner. So congratulations, just great racing, and big day for Vault Racing there. Won last year at VIR, and they do it again early in this championship season.
Down into the pits, staged underneath the podium here at Circuit of the Americas. I'm guessing a rather elated Icelander is going to be stepping out of that car. Tampa base nowadays. But what a great drive, what a great story for Alan Brynjolfsson. There's Trent Hinman. And Trent's lap from early in the race stays his fast lap of the race.
That was a great performance by the whole group. Looked like Jason Hart had the pace on Trent Hinman. After the restart, suddenly Trent's car came alive. Great execution on the pit stop. And just hanging on by the skin of his teeth, Alan gets the victory.
And Ryan Marine is making his way down there. We'll be able to hear from them. And Ryan's found him.
Alan Brynjolfsson, Trent Hinman, victorious here in race number 2. Alan, take us through the final sequence of corners. You saw Matt on the charge there. And what did you have to do to keep him in the rearview mirror?
Well, Trent gave me the car in first, so I had big shoes to fill, and I was just looking forward, trying to hit my marks, and that's about it. So hats off to Trent Hinman for getting me in position.
And Trent, you've been helping as a coach for a couple of years here with Alan. How proud are you? I was watching your emotions in those final moments. I think that was just as special for you as anything.
Dude, Ryan, it was all of us, man. Like, it's come a really long way since last year, and we've come close with him finishing races and being able to get a good result. So now for him in a Pro Series to actually be able to bring the car home on track and get a win is huge. It's a huge boost for everybody. Big thanks to Park Place Motorsports, Volt Lighting. Alan here, hell of a job at the end. Held him off, did not crack once under pressure. It was a beautiful drive.
And Alan, in your own words, to have the responsibility of taking the car home in that position and to come through, how special, what does it mean?
That's actually my first overall win, finishing the race in the Pro Series, so it's always going to be special. I got to say, I almost like it better because you don't have to drive gingerly. You don't have a responsibility to hand over a car in great shape. It's just go out and do your thing. So that was fun.
Congratulations, both of you. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely perfectly executed drive by both. And as you said, Brynjolfsson catching that traffic right at the end. Got an opportunity for Travis to be a lot closer than Alan would have liked, but he dealt with it beautifully. But this is that last lap, and a look at some of these great moves here. There's Brynjolfsson, but watching Travis coming up through the field. Here he goes, makes the move as Dynan got way wide, and the next corner he squared underneath him.
Yeah, that was beautiful, and he had to make that move early enough in the lap to have enough time to try and chase down Brynjolfsson that he eventually did. And got really tight there. That lap car up ahead was going to be a factor through the final couple of corners.
And then Foss not able to get by Dynan as well here as they got up into turn 11 and started to run down the straight. Now let's check in with our AM winners. A great drive once again from that Murillo program.
Well, the Murillo Racing folks are awfully happy as well. Matt Fosnot had the job of closing the race out, but man, this did not start the way you wanted with Christian turned around on the recon lap. What went through your head?
Well, you know, sometimes that's the way you start. It just clears your mind. You don't have to think about it. You're like, whoa, just reset. And yeah, he got back up there luckily, and he ran a great race. And thanks to these great Pirelli tires and Murillo setting up a great AMG, it was fantastic. I just need a couple more laps for these Porsches to fight, and would have been an even more interesting finish, I think.
You've had a lot of success in the touring car ranks, a TCA championship a couple of years back. Last year made the step up to GT4. Do you feel like that process has completed itself now to the point where you can be a contender week in and week out?
Yeah, I do, I think, but there's still a lot of work to do. These cars are very different from a touring car, but I think I've got it. I just got to be consistent. I think what happened today was I was really consistent, and that's what got the result.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, woo!
Yeah, enjoying that moment for sure. Winning the AM category, third overall. That is about as impressive as it gets. When you take a look there, you see if the behind the number is black on that right column, that's Pro-Am. If it's red, it's AM. And Fosnot, you can see how far up the order they finished in that category. It's a pretty solid run.
It's really a great run, and like Ryan alluded to, after a bad start to the day, they recovered nicely, and we saw that happen with a number of the teams, particularly the team that finished in second, to have that drive-through penalty. Cost them what would probably been a certain win without coming down pit lane and driving back through the field there and just coming up an inch or two short.
And yes, there was a 1-2 by the Porsches, but look at that, a Mercedes in third, BMW fourth, Mustang in seventh spot, Ginetta, so a lot of different manufacturers in the top 10, a McLaren right there. That bodes well for a fascinating season. And unfortunately, look at 29th there. You see Alec Udell, Jason Bell in the Audi. Just got a report sent to me that the gearbox overheated on that car. Remember that big air scoop got knocked off. And even in these cold temperatures, if the air's not getting directed properly, I wonder if that didn't contribute to that. But boy, they had a good run going early. And this race, when you think about highlights, this one was chock full of them at the start, and as it goes green, you can see the explosion as the car's going everywhere, and it was that Flying Lizard Porsche way down to the inside on the right at this point, and big move there, got them out into the front for at least a little bit here. And Cal, impressively, everybody made it through that first turn.
Yeah, really sketchy conditions, not a lot of track temperature. Try and get those Pirelli P0s up into their sweet spots with just good, hard racing in the early going. Big problem here, unfortunately, Jeff Burton, big crash, took off the front of that Audi. They wouldn't see further action today, but he was okay.
He was okay, gave us a bit of a caution. Then we had the reset, and when we went back to racing here, a battle royale, especially after the pit stops, unfolded here as Brynjolfsson trying to hang on for the lead, and Travis running him down after he got through traffic. Last corner, Travis, watch for it right here, went to the throttle, the back end stepped around, that was just enough. And Park Place, Brynjolfsson and Hinman, and the Porsche came and get the win. What a great day of racing. Got a great season ahead.